Welcome to Popternative, where we dive into topical discussions from the worlds of pop culture, social media, and sports. Here is your host, Peter Remoliotis, aka PD Beats.
Hello and welcome to the Popternative podcast, the podcast and talk show where we have digital discussions from the worlds of TV, film, pop culture, social media, music, sports, news, everything really, depending on the guest. We talk about it all. We talk about a lot of topics. As always, I'm your host, Peter Remoliotis. On social media, you know me as PD Beats. You'll recognize my guest from a show that just dropped on Netflix called Grand Army. We are with Crystal Nelson. Crystal, welcome to Popternative.
Thank you for having me.
I'm really happy we're able to chat. I mean, how's this week been for you? The show drops on Netflix. You guys have been working on this for a while. The day is finally here. What's the reception been like on your end?
Honestly, a lot of love, a lot of support, a lot of following. You know, it feels good to receive fans from social media that are just excited for our journey and happy about the show, and for us to put all of our everything we had into a show, into a production, and to get this type of like response. It feels amazing.
Absolutely. So I call you like people like yourselves, actors, writers, directors, performers, storytellers. You're all storytellers. That's what you do. You tell stories. When did Crystal Nelson decide that she wanted to be a storyteller?
Ooh, I'd take myself all the way back to my 12-year-old self. I was on YouTube at 12, just making up characters and telling stories, honestly. I mean, literally, my 12-year-old self was sitting in my living room at a table and just thinking of characters and being multiple ones and just entertaining YouTube stuff.
That might be one of the best flexes. That might be one of the best flexes of all time. I was on YouTube at 12.
I mean, seriously, that was my outlet. That was my go-to. And I wasn't ashamed. I mean, I laugh at myself right now when I watch it back, but at that time, that's what I needed. So
yeah,
it was a healthy thing for me.
For sure. So I've had the pleasure to chat with other of your fellow castmates of Grand Army, and I kind of asked them the same question. I mean, Grand Army, I've noticed something about the show that I really kind of was intrigued about is I feel like there's two layers of the show. So this layer, the show shows people going to Grand Army High School and they're dealing with all these issues in the world and everything. But I've noticed two things. I've noticed, one, the show does a job in terms of presenting a lot of unfortunate things that happen in our world, the unjust of certain things in our world. And there's that. So a lot of characters get kind of roped into things where they have no control over it, right?
Yes,
however, I've noticed the other flip side of it, Crystal, where there are situations where characters do have the control and they make unfortunate decisions in their life as well.
Yeah.
Have you ever thought about that aspect of the show, kind of showing both sides of it?
I think that it's important to show both sides because some people have struggle of making it out, and then some people have the option to make it out easily and they just make the wrong decision. And I feel like that's what happens in real life. You have your easy situations that you can get out of, you have your tough ones that require a little more work, and then some people have the easy ones, but they're like, oh, I'm going to go this route. So we're trying to touch on all different types of struggles and all different types of ways to get out of it, and not just make it like one plain way and that's it. Everyone abides by that, because that's just not how it is in real life.
No, absolutely. But I just feel like there are situations like certain characters, like the whole thing that happens to Owen, I talked to Janet about, is just unfortunate, right? He's not thinking, and he just pulls up joke, and then look at the repercussions that joke has, right?
And that's real life stuff. I mean, us as kids, when we were in middle and high school, I mean, we just thought we were being funny. We didn't think about the repercussions. We just were like, oh, let's be funny. Let's do this, mess around. We don't realize what kind of trouble we can get in afterwards because we just don't know. And Absolutely. I feel like that's exactly what was showed with Jaden's character. They just passing the wallet around, not knowing that there's repercussions after it, or what could happen. It's all just like fun and games.
What I find interesting too about the show is it shows you guys, going to school and all the relationships and the interactions, but it also shows, all the different disciplines. Like it shows that you're playing sports, there's music, there's, Dominique with her side hustle with her makeup, but there's all these like ventures and things. How important do you think it was for the show to kind of show that, there is a struggle to be a student athlete. There is a struggle to be a student musician and a scholar. Like there's a struggle of kind of trying to kind of get your name out there in that regards as well.
I feel like it's really important because it's real life. It's what students go through right now. I mean, Dom with her side hustle of doing hair and then also having to be on the basketball team and then also be a great student. Jaden and Malik with just like Jaden and Jay having to have, I'm saying their character's name and their real names, having to keep music going while also just trying to do great in school and keep their grades up. And it's just really hard to juggle both, you know, because you want to be a great student, but then you also want to participate in other activities and you want to be able to juggle both of them. And that's a hard thing that people do. I mean, trying to be up there with playing sports and staying on the team, but then also wanting to have A's and B's. Like real kids, they struggle with that. They struggle with maintaining good grades and also doing what they love.
Absolutely. No, I agree with you. And you talked about Dominic and her side hustle. Have you ever watched a show, Crystal, as someone, not being on a show, but just as like an audience member? Have you ever watched a show or a movie where there's like a scene in it that makes you kind of laugh and it's like, and you don't know why you find it so funny type thing? Has that ever happened to you?
I feel like maybe I feel like I have. I can't really name one, but I think at times I laugh because I'm like, I felt that, you
Yeah.
know?
So like, for
Like,
example, Dominic, right? There was one, like her nephew on the show.
my
So
little
there's
man.
yes, so he's the greatest. He's probably I was talking to my sister about this. He's like our highlight. I love like he's one of our highlights of the show. I love that
Yeah,
guy.
he's awesome.
When he like attacks her with the Nerf gun.
Oh yeah,
His
he's
face.
being a kid.
His face, and she's like, "Okay, you're done," and she puts it on the shelf. We've rewinded that scene like
His
20 times.
he has the best response between that scene and him at wanting a fork, and you just
Oh,
see it
the
on his face. He's
sass?
just like
The fork?
literally, he's just like, "Thank you."
Can
Like
someone make
it's
that
like, dang man.
you gotta make that we need to make that a GIF or a meme. Like the
Yes,
fork swipe.
really, it's like you felt so much. It's like it made me laugh, but then I was like, dang, no respect. Like you're welcome. Like
I
anything.
rewound that scene because he's just standing there and he's so close to her when she's like stirring her
Literally
like
just
cream stuff.
no care. No care, just being a little kid. No care in the world.
But I think
Crazy kid. I love him.
it's funny because okay, so I find that interesting because there's like a no care because you're young at one point, but at one point, you know, your careless actions obviously will creep up to you and get you in trouble. A lot of characters in this
Which you
show.
see that moment, and then you see what Owen and Jay's character does with the staircase. Like that's like careless things just being
But
funny,
yeah,
and then
you know what? To get into it, you know, like I mean, Dominic's character. I mean, she feels bad, but at the end of the day, like her character's mind says, you have to also use your brains too, right? Like it's
yeah,
a tough. She's
it's
in a
very
tough
true.
spot. Her character.
It's like she wants to be easy on them because she knows what it's like to be in school with in their situation. But then she's like, what about me? What about how
Absolutely.
that's going to set me back? So she's juggling constantly, and you kind of have to sit back and be like, what's going to be best for you? And I feel like that's what she takes her time to get into, and later on does, and realize like, let me think for Dominique, not let me
Yeah.
think for anybody else.
Your character and other characters are kind of friends and kind of like sidekicks of Dominique throughout the show. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're there with her with everything going on. Talk a little
hmm
bit about your character on the show, Crystal. Talk a little bit about kind of some of the things that maybe we didn't realize about the character that comes into play with like storylines.
Well, my character is Tor, and she's a part of the LGBTQ community. She plays basketball, but besides like the known facts of what you see, I feel like she's just kind of like that hug that you need when situations are tough. That extra love, you know, someone to lean on. Like you notice in every scene, she's making you smile. She's giving
Yep.
you a hug. She's encouraging you. Like you need that type of friend in every type of group because you never know when you might need that uplifting. And I feel like that's what Tor's all about.
Absolutely. No, it's really important. There's some it's funny because you know, Netflix has done such an amazing job with just cranking out unbelievable shows. And Grand Army is one of those shows. How does it feel to be part of kind of like the Netflix family? Like it's pretty crazy.
Honestly, would have never imagined. I'm not even gonna lie to you right now. Like it still hits me. It still hits me when I see it pop up on my TV screen, when I hear people congratulate me on my character and how I did in the show. And I'm like, dang, I'm a part of Netflix. But it feels good to have this platform and to be a role model to others and to be some say a hero in a way of like someone they look up to. It feels really good. It's an amazing feeling.
There are a lot of shows that people are comparing Grand Army to, and I feel like it's one of those things where, yeah, there's similarities, but at the end of the day, like, for example, you know, they're saying comparisons to shows like, you know, Euphoria on HBO, and it's one of those things where I've watched both those shows, and I love both those shows. I can tell you right now that although they tackle kind of the young adult issues, they're different TV shows. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree. And I love both of those shows too. I mean, I watched Euphoria, I watched 13 Reasons Why, like I watched all that. I feel like, in my own opinion, our show just gets straight to it, but it also leaves space for a little bit of comedy to kind of get you prepared for the next, you know, deep moment that you're gonna have, you know. And with doing it with 5 different storylines and staying on the topic, I just feel like Katie couldn't have wrote that any better. So,
but I feel like if you or the cast members would ask, like, what do you think is hitting stride of shows like Grand Army, 13 Reasons Why, and Euphoria? I mean, your answer would probably have to stem from the fact that, like, it's real. It's a real show.
Very
like, it's
real.
not real. You know, your characters are not, they're fictional characters, but like this is real life. Like, everything you see on the show, people are going through.
Plain and simple. Like, yes, we are characters portraying these, but some of us and a lot of everyone else are going through these things, you know. And I mean, I'm a part of the LGBT community, and I struggled in high school. You know, Tor has it where she's chilling, but you still don't know, because we didn't really go in depth that we could have.
So, there's like that swagger to your character.
You don't exactly. But when I was in high school, it was a little bit tough for me. I got along with a lot of people, but I wasn't comfortable in my own skin. And I feel like now, if I was in high school right now, I would have needed Tor, you know? So it feels good to play a character that other people need right now in school and just in life in general.
We talked about kind of like it just irritates me though. And I think that's the point of it. Like, how like selfish some of the characters are on the show too, though. Hey, can I just say that for a second?
I mean, it's fair. It's fair to say, I'm sure. I mean, we did this for people to talk.
Not the actors, the characters.
No, I know what you mean. No, I mean, we did this for people to talk and for people to feel a certain way and to react, you know, and create conversation. So that's fair to say. I mean, it's fair to say there are levels to all the characters right now. So,
do you kind of? So we mentioned a bunch of things, right? It's real simple as that. What are other things that you think are hitting stride with the show? Like, do you think because it takes place in New York, because of what it looks like, the feel of it, the music? Like, what do you think are elements that make it popular?
The music, beautiful. It really ties you in. I think mostly the diversity within our show.
Oh, absolutely.
It leads for every single person to relate to it. The fact that it speaks to kids and it speaks to parents. The fact that it touches on things that are going on in this world right now, like those are all powerful factors that were written into the show for everyone to just really listen to and pay attention and then talk about it. You know, we're ready to create conversation and to create craziness, because that's how we're going to get that attention. So,
were there any scenes or any like scenes that you shot that took like a lot longer than people think to shoot? Like, for example, the whole like the staircase scene, like in the beginning with like the explosion, right? Like, how long did that whole thing take?
I can't speak on the staircase because that one was with Brittany, Cruz, and Audley, and they said it was a pretty good amount of time. But the one that I can say is the auditorium scene when, sorry for a spoiler alert, but when John Ellis screams out, "I can't breathe," like that whole moment, that was a very, very long day, I would say, in my opinion, a very long, hot day. So,
well, I hear, like, I interviewed some people from Orange is the New Black, and, you know, they say that there are some, like, scenes that take, like, a day to shoot.
Wow.
Isn't that crazy?
It just depends. I mean, it's wild because you'll get, like, a 3-minute clip from just that scene that took a whole day or 2 days, but I learned that's what happens in acting, so I'm trying to get familiar with it.
Well, there was a big fight scene in Orange is the New Black that apparently took like a whole day to shoot.
Oh, well, fighting?
Yeah.
I got it. That makes me think how long it took for Bo and Sid's character when they got into that quick like fight scene. Like, that makes me think, like, how long did that take? You know, because we only saw a snippet of it, but that doesn't mean it only took a day.
Ironically enough, though, I talked to Xolo Mariduena, who is also part of the Netflix family, because Cobra Kai season 3 is going to come out in the new year, and that whole fight sequence in the school in season 2 of Cobra Kai apparently didn't take as long as they thought it would. So it's just
I
like,
guess
you
it all
never know.
depends. Yeah, you look at the scene and you're like, oh, that had to take like 2 days, and it's like, no, that was 30 seconds. But then you see another scene that was quick, and that was like the 1 or 2 day
But then I
thing.
think there's so like a thing we talk about the show, but like misconceptions too, is like, you know, one of the misconceptions that comes up with the industry. You know, a lot of people say like, oh, you know, like a person like yourself, Crystal Nelson, right? Like, oh, I haven't seen her in anything else. She must have just been brand new to acting. Like, it's not like she's been doing this for many years, right? Like that's the one that just drives me nuts the most. Okay. But Quentin Aaron, who played Michael Orr in The Blind Side with Sandra Bullock, came on my show and says, like, there's a misconception. He's like, when people think you're famous, they think you're rich. And he's like, that ain't always the case.
No, it's definitely a stepping process. I mean, this was my first production, like my first big thing being on Netflix. But it doesn't just come with like loads of money. Like you got to keep
but
on.
the thing is, like like I said, a lot of you know, I have a lot of friends that are with SAG, and of course a lot of them were with ACTRA, which is the Canadian union, right? And a lot of it is per day pay, right? If you're doing a show and it only takes you like 2 or 3 days to shoot, that's it. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, I know what you mean.
Like
I know what you mean.
it's kind of, it goes hand in hand with like,
yeah,
you know what I mean?
I feel like you gotta.
Yeah.
I feel like there's some productions where they literally can finish in 1 to 2 days, and it's just like you're done. And then there's some that could take like a 6-month process.
Yeah.
So it's all the way down to like, how long do we need to make this project come to life, you know? So it really varies.
I wonder, is there, because you know when people like, because obviously your job is you are like a storytellers and actors, you're professional auditioners. Like,
yeah,
that's what
I like
you
that.
do.
I like the way you said that.
Well, but that is the job, right?
Yeah, that's
like,
true.
That's all you're doing a lot of the time.
Literally constantly telling stories, auditioning, and then telling more stories. So yeah,
but
like
I feel like
you're
like, do people look and be like, well, I want to audition for this one because I know it's going to be like a 6-month project?
Honestly, like when I get auditions, I don't know nothing. Like, I don't know nothing about how long the filming process is going to be. I'm just like, do I love this character? Is it impactful? Let me go for it. You know, if you're thinking about how long it's going to take, like that's hard to get your head in the game of getting the role if you're focusing on that. You know what I mean? So
absolutely.
It's you just never know. Like I used to think that movies took a long time, but I've been told that movies are pretty quick. Yeah. I had no clue. So I'm sitting here like, oh, that movie probably took like 4 or 5 months. No, we did that in a month. We did that in 2 weeks.
It's crazy to see the evolution of like making a movie. Like you look at like the like the early 2000s, how they made movies, and then you look at like how they make movies now.
Right now,
just like,
the technology.
Yeah, I know, it's pretty crazy. Crystal, thank you so much for coming on Popternative. I really enjoyed chatting with you.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for inviting me. This was really cool, and I love what you're doing with your YouTube page. Like, it's amazing. This is awesome.
I appreciate that. Thank you so much. And that's another thing too. I don't think people realize, because you said you were on YouTube at 12 flex. No, but like, content creation is a lot of work and takes a lot of time. And I feel like I just want to stress that, because a lot of people say like, how did you start? Like, how did you do Popternative? Like, I've been doing Popternative for 5 years.
Yeah.
And I've been working, like, I have not taken a break on it. You know what I mean?
And I have, and that's the thing. I watched your videos. Like, you have been consecutively going. I took that break, and then I came back on it at like 18 or 19. And then I was like, you know what am I doing right now? And now it's just like, now my YouTube page is just like straight acting, pushing positivity, filming, behind the scenes, vlogs, all that stuff. And now I feel like, all right, I got something going, but it still requires so much work and so much attention. Like, absolutely. I give props to everyone who just keeps it going, like yourself. Just mad props.
I really appreciate that. So Grand Army is out now on Netflix.
And worldwide.
Worldwide, and it's available. Number 9 on Netflix in the US a couple of days ago. Congrats on that.
Now 8.
Now 8.
Now 8. Yes.
Where can people follow you on social media to keep up to date with everything?
Oh, on Instagram, it's at the Crystal Nelson.
Yep.
And then I'm gonna plug my TikTok because I'm trying to stay on that, and that's the same thing, at the Crystal Nelson. So amazing. Same thing.
You know how people do swipe ups on like Instagram, like when they put links? Do people like? Because I'm on TikTok like as like a watcher, like I watch, like I'm not I don't create a lot. You know what I mean? Do they have that like swipe
on
up
TikTok?
thing on TikTok?
I don't know. I just know that for me to get it on Instagram, you got to have, I think, like 10K.
Yeah,
I'm on the road.
If there's
I don't know about.
Snapchat, you could do it without the 10K.
Yeah.
You could do it automatically.
You know what? But there was an ad for Grand Army on TikTok, and it was allowing you to swipe up to go straight to the Netflix page. So
those swipe ups on Instagram though are very popular because people are on their phones and they just it works.
It takes for someone who has to be like link in bio, like that just for us just takes a while to get to. So I'm appreciate and be blessed for the swipe up when I get it, because the link in bio is just, you forget, you just like, you're on to the next thing. It's a struggle out here, man.
I don't know why I found that so funny. It's so true.
Because you feel my pain. It's deep, but it's okay. We're on the road, so
no, seriously,
it's all good.
Thank you so much for doing this.
Of course.
And congrats so far on the success of Grand Army, and I hope it continues and continues.
Thank you, man. I really appreciate you having me.
Well, this has been Popternative, youtube.com/Popternative. For previous episodes, be sure to check out Crystal Nelson in Grand Army, which is available now on Netflix worldwide. Until next time, this is Crystal Nelson and PD Beats signing off.
Thank you for tuning in to Popternative. Make sure to check out our past episodes of Popternative on YouTube. Be sure to like Popternative on Facebook and follow us on Twitter.
This has been an Autograph Communications production.